everyone, I am Brittany, the Cosmic Lunar Soul. Welcome to my channel if you're new. Welcome back to all of my subscribers. I am so happy to announce my new series. This is kind of like a do a reading with me kind of thing, but I don't want to name it Read With Me because, well, I might be encroaching on BookTube. So here we are. If you are a reader or if you're trying to get into reading and you just want to see examples of readings that don't include live readings and want to hear more of the thought process behind a reading, this is the series for you. So stay tuned. This one, as my introductory episode, I guess, is going to be about the 3-card reading. So what I'm going to do is do 2 traditional examples of a 3-card reading, and then I'm going to do more of a free flow kind of style and talk through my process for each one. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so I'm going to be using the Dreamscapes Tarot by La Mucci. This is a recent deck that I got. If you're curious about this and want to see a flip through, go ahead and check that out on my channel. When people come to me for a reading, I do a variety of different things, but in this episode, I'll say, I want to talk about the 3-card reading. Now, this might be something you're doing for yourself. This might be something you're doing with your clients. You know, however you want to do that. This example will be about a very, very popular one, maybe a little intermediate one, and then more free flow. What I mean by free flow is that it will be an unstructured spread, basically pull 3 cards, but the positions don't matter. If you have ever seen my live streams, you've seen me basically use that method. So for the first one, I'm going to be using the classic past, present, future. And let's just say we have a client that came to us and wants to know what they should focus on for personal growth, right? So if we are using the example of a past, present, future, we can say, what is it from the past that they should reflect on? What in the present should they focus on? And what things in the future should they aim towards? Let's look at it that way. So even though it's a past, present, future, you can always reframe it to mean something specific for your needs. So let's see what our past card is. What should our client focus on from the past that will help them with personal growth? All right, what in the present should our client look at, or focus on rather, for personal growth? So I don't take jumpers, by the way. I'm very clumsy when I'm shuffling, and I switch between too many decks to be confident in any jumper cards. But I will take ones that stick out. And then let's see what our client should focus on or should work towards in the future. Okay. So when doing spreads that have a specific meaning for each position, essentially this is 3 1-card readings. So for the first one, we have the 6 of Wands, we have the Strength card, and then we have the 10 of Cups. So some things of note: 3-card readings are really, really like short and quick. So there are always going to be a few gaps, in my opinion. There's always going to be things to dive in deeper for, but when I'm doing a structured spread, usually it's for a reason, because I want something really short, quick, and to the point, right? So I most likely wouldn't do this for a client. I would do this for myself, but that's what our example is. So in the past, one of the things our client should focus on is this 6 of Wands here. The 6 of Wands is about standing out and feeling victorious amongst your achievements and feeling like you are being recognized for those achievements. So what I would ask is, you know, what things in your past have you felt that you've been really successful on, and not only been really successful, you've been recognized for your success? That can amount to good grades, scholarships, promotions at work. It just depends, right? It's a give and take in terms of communication with your client. So if we are focusing on personal growth, the client wants something to focus on. From the past, reflect on those moments of success where you felt like you truly stood out amongst their peers, and what is it that helped them stand out? Because a lot of times it's something internal that they did to help release that energy to the world to see. There, sometimes when you feel good on the inside, people notice on the outside. And then in the present, right? So for focusing on personal growth, we have the Strength card. This card is like a sign of resilience to me, where like if this pops up, this might be something where I would want to dive deeper, especially being a major arcana that kind of stands out amongst the reading here. But one of the things I like to do in different tarot decks is talk about the imagery. So here we have this woman running alongside this beautiful lion, and almost like the lion is leading her and she is supporting that lion in return. So there's like this resilience and strength that needs to happen in the present if they want to truly start to consciously focus on that personal growth. So where are there areas of their life, the client, our fictional client here, what areas of their life do they feel like they don't necessarily feel the most resilient in? What do they kind of push off to the wayside because they feel like they just don't have the strength to tackle it, or it feels like very overwhelming and therefore they push it off to the side? Those are the things that they need to actually focus on. Don't push it off to the side in order to be able to move forward in this journey of personal growth. In the future, we have the Ten of Cups. Ten of Cups is the card of like emotional fulfillment. So if we look at all of this, right, we have the strength and resiliency here in the center. We talk about like social recognition in one way or another in regards to different achievements. And then here is where we start to see where would you most feel fulfillment if you were to focus your time. So a lot of that is probably going to stem from whatever is being pushed off to the side here that is requiring a little more strength to overcome. And it's most likely something that is really emotionally heavy for our clients, something that's really hard to want to bear their heart and their time and energy towards. It could be around their family, being the Ten of Cups. So this is the point where I'd start to dive in a little deeper, ask if this is like a family thing, or if this is just something that has been a really long time emotional journey for them. And when people come to you asking about personal growth, it's such a generic thing. A lot of times it can be, personal growth within their relationships, within their career, within just their general self-worth. So this feels very much like a combination of self-worth and family, where here we're focusing like on past achievements that feel very much in the past and maybe like you haven't been socially recognized. And then at the same time, maybe this is a sign that they feel like they have not been recognized within their family unit, and it feels like they haven't achieved that emotional fulfillment from them. So that strength and resiliency towards personal growth will be a combination of, realizing that your worth doesn't necessarily come from outside recognition, even though, of course, it feels good. It always feels good to be recognized. But you see, Here, this card is facing the Ten of Cups, so ultimately this is probably going to be the most important, and this is in the past position. So it's good to recognize that you have these moments just as a way to fuel yourself and say, like, I have the ability to do this, but this isn't what drives you. Your goals for the future is what drives you. So that's the example for a past, present, future in regards to a client coming to you, or if this is your question of what should I focus on for personal growth. I like to play a little bit on the elements of the card sometimes. I like to play on the position of the art. I just picked this deck because it's one of the most recent decks and it's pretty generic. I actually have a video planned on how to pick a deck for yourself and for your clients. So if you're curious about that and have questions about that, comment below. Our next example is going to be a situation, obstacle, and advice 3-card reading. So let's say we have the same client. We've kind of already talked through something in a previous session, which was our last reading, that I gave an example on. And the client says, I feel like I'm not appreciated by my family, and it's really affecting how I see myself. So their goal is still personal growth, but now we know it's specifically with their family, and we're going to look into the situation here. So we want a card that describes the current situation in regard to the client. Next, we have the obstacle. What is the obstacle that the client is facing? And then we have the advice card here. So what advice would tarot have for the client? Now, if we remember, I'm going to zoom in a little. Sorry, guys. So if we remember some of the themes from the last reading, right? And not all of these videos are going to be continuations, but I thought it would be a fun exercise to show the continuation of readings and following themes across different spreads. So we have our situation, which is the world. We have our obstacle, which is the 5 of Cups, and we have the advice, which is the 9 of Wands. So here we have the world, which is it imbues the energy, the element of earth. Cups is water, and then Wands is fire. So we have some earth, we have some water, we have some fire. We're lacking that air, which is communication. So if we remind you of the past, present, future of the previous one, some of the themes that we had were wanting recognition from family, feeling like you're being appreciated probably by your family, and also this resiliency to get through this process as it reflects on your personal growth. So we see a lot of those similar signs, and one of the things that's lacking, like I said, is air, which is swords, some of the other major arcana. So there's a lack of both communication and introspection that's going on. So a lot of things are probably coming from the outside and immediately affecting you without the ability, and I say you, meaning our client, affecting our client without the ability for them to take the time to process. So remember, the client originally came to us with what should they focus on for personal growth. We gave them some tips previously, and let's say they came back and this is their reading. So perhaps the next step now is to find moments of time where you can really think about how certain situations are affecting them, right? So overall, we have this situation, which is the world. So one of the things, and I probably, editor Brittany probably took it out, but I like to pause every once in a while because I sometimes have to think through what I'm seeing in the cards, and sometimes things don't necessarily match up. One of the things I have grown out of is shuffling in reversals. So when I'm reading for a client, I will purposefully switch it so they can see what I'm talking to. But if you're reading for yourself, you can leave it upright. Just focus on more of the reversed energy. So the reason I am flipping these, we have earth and water. They're very supportive of each other. So to me, that tells me that most likely they should both be upright or they should both be reversed. But the obstacle and the situation are opposite of what I feel like the reverse or what the upright meanings of these cards are. Fire and water tend not to enjoy each other. Fire will cause water to boil off and steam up, whereas water will put out fire, so this feels very upright. World in reverse tells me that this situation with our client, this is confirmation that they do not feel fulfilled in their life. The world is the end of the major arcana. Traditionally, when you get to that point, you want to feel that fulfillment. You want to feel accomplished, like you did something, like you met at least a few of the important goals in life. And this is saying that our client does not feel like they are where they should be in this phase of their life. We kind of already know that this probably stems a little bit from family. I say family, but it could also just be relationships. The relationships around them are not fulfilling. They're not getting out of them what they should, so that could be a sign that things are very surface level and superficial. But the thing about the obstacle, and it seems counterintuitive that I would flip this, because upright, the Five of Cups is about feeling like you're focusing too much on the bad things and not realizing that there are good things there. But the obstacle is actually the opposite of that. It's being able to move on. They're having trouble moving on from this unfulfilling phase in life. So emotionally, they're hanging on to it. They're not able to put it behind them. They're not able to find that peace that they need in order to move on. So with this situation here, we kind of know that a lot of the fulfillment is stemming from more so emotional things. It's not necessarily so external. It's also not very mental. It's literally just how they're how they're emotionally reacting to the world around them in their own situations that they're currently in. And the advice is very reflective of the reading that we had previously, where we had the Strength card in the center, and I mentioned that one of the things that they need to focus on in the present is being resilient and tapping into that strength that they have. The Nine of Wands is also the card of resilience. So it's like saying, hey, hang in there. Keep working towards the goals that you're looking for. And the Nine of Wands is really the card of like digging in, putting in the work, whatever that might look like. In this case, I think ultimately this card, compounded if I were to pair it mentally back to the Strength card, is the client's journey for personal growth is about finding themselves outside of the need for recognition, and what that looks like to them. So usually this is the point in a reading where I might get some actionable advice. That's usually outside of tarot, more so my personal preference of things based off of what I saw in the cards. And this is kind of where we talk through things. And the reason I will do that, I tend to tell people to write things down a lot. When I do my readings, they're usually written or video, so the client can go back and look at the previous reading and then reflect on it, kind of go back and listen to it or read it over and over until, they feel confident and comfortable with what they're hearing. And I generally recommend people write down like any issues they're struggling with, so that way when we come back we can talk through them and hit on higher points. So this is the point where, like, if they come back and they say, hey, you know, we had the Nine of Wands where it talks about being resilient, how do I do that? And I can pull the Nine of Wands as a clarifier and then talk to that. So that's how you can sort of turn a 3-card reading, something very, very simple, into just like a sounding board, like a starting point for a lot of things. Now we're going to do free flow. Free flow, I think, can be a little hard for newer readers because you're literally just flowing with your intuition on how you think the cards are speaking to you. The easiest way to get, I can't give you every example because I don't have, I wish I could stop time and just be able to create like an endless video for you, but the best way to see that is to check out one of my live streams. You can either watch one of the recaps, or you can come join me live, even if you don't have a reading in mind, right? So we have our same client. Remember, they wanted to know, they came to us wanting to know what they should focus on for personal growth. We realized they're struggling a little bit, feeling recognized from their family. And this is about, their advice was to be resilient and focus on, you know, not necessarily needing that recognition externally and accepting yourself more internally, but they were lacking some communication. So here, maybe they don't have any follow-up questions, but they came back in for a check-in, and we're just going to pull 3 cards, right? So let's pull our first card, our second card, and our third card. So, I'll zoom back in for you guys. We have the Star card, the Ten of Wands, and then the Ten of Cups. One of the things that I do in almost any reading is I try to see what we have and what we're missing in terms of suits and stuff. But with 3 cards, it's not as important because you have so few cards to look at anyway. But what I also like to do is keep track of trends with specific people. So we have the Ten of Cups as a repeat. We have the next phase. We have the Nine of Wands, and now we have the Ten of Wands. 2 tens here, and then we have the Star. When I do free flow, sometimes I'll start in the middle and work my way out. Sometimes I'll just go straight forward, straight across. Sometimes I bounce around and see how things mirror each other. In this case, I'm just going to start at the beginning and work my way down. Sort of beginning and then these 2 here. And the reason is we have the Star. The major arcana, I mentioned previously, very impactful, probably more important in terms of the overall theme of this reading, but these give you the details. So the Star card is about hope, manifesting whatever wishes that you have for this situation, right? So in our client's particular instance, we have the Star, which tells me as a reader that the client must be feeling a little more hopeful. So this generally triggers, well, what have you done differently? What's changed? And what have you feel like you accomplished? Because we have these 2 tens here. Tens in tarot are the end of a cycle. Good or bad, it depends on the situation. Which means that since we have these 2 tens, emotionally, they have reached the end of the cycle, and also, like, I would say more, like, passionately, things have ended, not ended, but have come to a conclusion as well. So there's something here between these 2 that must have happened in the past. So this is a generic scenario, so I'm obviously not going to get answers, but let's say, I mentioned in the last reading they were lacking that communication. So let's just say that they told their partner or significant other that they don't feel appreciated, and that it's nothing that they're doing, and they realize that maybe, let's just say, their love language is words of affirmation, right? It doesn't have to be anything big. It's just something that helps them along in their journey. It's something to root for. So perhaps, after that conversation, they're starting to feel a little more hopeful. Their partner has started to say, like, thank you or great job a little bit more. And they are starting to see how they are really navigating the world in general. Now, the Ten of Wands, like I mentioned, the 10 show me that things are starting to come to a conclusion here for our client. They're starting to see exactly how they can start to grow themselves. And part of that could be being confident in relaying their boundaries or their needs to people that are important to them. Understanding that it is hard to do, but it's worthwhile to do with this Ten of Wands. Ten of Wands is usually about coming to a conclusion or finishing or coming to an accomplishment, but it was a little exhausting, a little wearisome to get there, which most likely emotionally so with the cups over here. But at the same time, we have the Ten of Cups again, but this time upright. So that energy that we had before was reversed, just as a reminder. And one of the things I like to say is, like, how can you switch that energy upright? And it looks like whatever they did that. So this was really serendipitously, like, a great example of a start to finish session over multiple sessions, I should say, with our fictional client, where they had kind of a loose concept of what they wanted, right? They felt like they needed some personal growth, but they weren't sure how to go about it. Our past, present, future helped them. And then they came back after we told them, like, maybe it's something with your family. How can you be a little more resilient in this situation? You're lacking communication. And then they go and take that advice and put it to use. And then we could start to see how things are starting to look up for them in terms of their personal growth. So I think the free form is really fun if you are starting out. I like to do that so that way I can build on top of it and just kind of pull where I need to, right? So in this example, obviously we kind of did a whole storyboard with a single fictional client, but if, for example, we have the star card and something stood out to it, I can always, like, highlight it, move these off to the side, and then pull more cards to go with the star card so we can just see what that's about, right? Like that. Just as an example. So there's plenty of different options with freeform that I really like. A lot of people, I think, struggle, though, when they are just starting out, and freeform opens up the doors to too many options, like analysis paralysis kind of thing. And but doing the 3-card readings and working your way through a process, especially if it's for yourself, is so much easier to control. Write down your readings, come back to them, expand upon them, and then see how things connect, and things will start to click as you go along. So guys, that was episode 1 of my series. Comment below, let me know what your thoughts were. How do you like to use 3-card spreads? Do you like structured or unstructured? Do you like to do the more free flow option? Or do you have a favorite 3-card spread that I didn't use in this video? Just to share with everyone. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.